Chapter 681. Hurry. Let's head over to the banquet hall. Hector ordered immediately. No need. I've taken care of it. Dustin emerged from the darkness. His white clothes were stained red as some murderous air lingered on him. That's good. Hector sighed in relief before asking, Dustin, did you catch sight of the Dark Lord? Not yet. Dustin shook his head. As long as the Dark Lord is alive, our family will be in danger. All members of the Harmon 1 family, listen up. Split yourself into groups of 5 and root him out. Hector commanded. There's no need for that. I'm already here. Just then, a sinister voice spoke out. Everyone turned and saw a man standing proudly on the gazebo nearby. He wore a black cape and a mask that covered half of his face. The air surrounding the man was so poisonous that the ring of plants around him had already withered. Even the snow that fell on his body turned black. The Dark Lord. The Harmon family instantly had the guards up and their weapons drawn. The past few years have traumatized them. They couldn't see or catch him, so they had to be constantly on guard against him since his methods were always baffling. He was skilled in poison, curses, and witchcraft and could easily kill someone undetected. His skills made it extremely difficult to anticipate his next move. The Harmon family couldn't help but feel a little scared. They could finally meet this nightmare in person. You've finally shown yourself. Hector narrowed his eyes, his expression grim. Knowing the Dark Lord's personality, the man must have something up his sleeve if he was willing to show himself. Today. We should end things now. It's been a long time coming, after all. The Dark Lord sniggered. You have 2 choices right now. You either hand over your treasure, or your entire family will perish. Will our family perish? Because of you? Hector humped. He prepared well just to fight against the Dark Lord. However, dealing with the man would have been difficult if he had been hiding in the dark. Now that the Dark Lord had shown himself, they could finally take him down. I can deal with all of you myself. The Dark Lord clasped his hands behind his back, his clothes dancing in the air. How dare you? Insolent bastard. The Harmon family cried out angrily. The Dark Lord was feared for his mystic arts. So, the Harmon family had nothing to fear as long as everything came down to a battle of the fists. Move out of the way. I'll deal with him. Dylan stood forward and swore, You've harmed our family for years, Dark Lord. Today, you will pay for your sins with your blood. Foolish brat. The Dark Lord humped disdainfully. How dare you look down on me? Go to hell. Dylan drew his blade and leaped into the air. With a powerful swing, he brought his sword down with all his might. There was a whistle as the force melted the snow in its path and headed toward the Dark Lord. What a powerful swing. The Harmon family watched the battle animatedly. As the genius of the family, the time Dylan spent on the battlefield completely changed him. His sword was much more powerful than it once was. Oh. My genius boy. Jacob watched his son proudly. Defeating the Dark Lord would make Dylan the family's hero. Tree flicker. With a snicker, the Dark Lord struck out with his palm. A shadow phased through Dylan's sword and planted itself into the young man's chest. Ah! Dylan wailed as he collapsed onto the ground. He spurted blood everywhere. Chapter 682. What? Everyone was shocked as they watched Dylan land on the ground. The way he had leaped into the air tricked everyone into thinking that he had a winning chance against the Dark Lord. However, his opponent was able to get rid of him effortlessly, shocking the crowd. Dylan. Jacob paled. He rushed over to hold his son up. I slipped, Dad, Dylan forced out before his head fell to one side as he passed out. Jacob was tongue-tied. He couldn't believe how stubborn his son was. How could he act so foolishly when he's so weak? Does the Harmon family have no one else to send? At the gazebo, the Dark Lord sneered at them scornfully. Don't be cocky. We'll deal with you. A voice was heard as 9 people emerged from the group of people. There was a mix of men and women, as each of them were powerful fighters well known in the martial world. Without doing much, they gave off immense pressure on those around them. To tell you the truth, these are skilled martial artists we hired. With them around, you'll meet your end no matter what tricks you use. Trent declared, pleased. You better surrender if you don't want to die. Hector shouted. The Harmon family called upon many martial artists for help, but most of them were nothing but smokescreens. Their true trump card was actually these 9 fighters. PFFT. I can get rid of these 9 pests easily. The Dark Lord sniggered, unfazed. Insolent bastard. His answer pissed off the 9 fighters. They were well-known fighters in the martial world and were confident they could each take on the Dark Lord by themselves, much less as a team. Guys, on my mark, let's get rid of this evil man. An elderly man shouted as he sprung toward the Dark Lord, sword first. Kill him. The remaining 8 fighters followed closely behind, each using their best skills to fight the Dark Lord. Blades glinted, and gusts of wind rippled through the air as the trees and bushes around them were sliced down. Even the freshly laid snow had evaporated. With those skills, no wonder they're the best fighters around. With those 9 people attacking him at the same time, there's no way he can avoid their assault. Since he dared to invade our house, let's make sure he never leaves. The Harmon family watched intently as the 9 fighters surrounded the Dark Lord, eagerly waiting for the latter to be shredded into pieces. What a bunch of losers. The Dark Lord chuckled before striking outward with both palms. There was a loud rumble as the 2 fighters closest to him were flattened into human pancakes. The Dark Lord then spun around and did the same to the 2 fighters behind him, killing them instantly. Within seconds, nearly half of the 9 fighters were dead. While the Dark Lord was busy with the 4 fighters, the remaining 5 rushed toward the Dark Lord and swung their swords fiercely. Sharp clangs rang out as their weapons hit the Dark Lord's body. As if they had hit solid steel, sparks flew from the points of contact. What? The 5 fighters' eyes widened in shock, and they paled. When they tried to jump backward, they realized that the true energy surrounding the Dark Lord's frame had glued their weapons to his body like a magnet. Who gave you the courage to fight me with those measly skills? Chapter 683. As if they had been struck by a train, the remaining 5 fighters were brutally thrown backward and landed in a pile of snow. Some died, while others were severely injured, and none of them were able to stand up again. What? The 9 fighters lost. The Harmon family was devastated to see that the skilled fighters they spent a hefty amount to hire hadn't even been able to touch a hair on the Dark Lord's head. Who's up next? The Dark Lord stood at the same gazebo, and he peered down at those useless fools. Even those 9 fighters lost to him. There's no way anyone could win against him. The Harmon family exchanged fearful glances, none of them daring to step forward. Was this the end of the Harmon family? The 2 of us will have some fun with you, Dark Lord. Suddenly, a grave voice broke the silence. Everyone turned to see 2 shadows emerging from the sky, nimbly making their way toward them. They moved as stealthily as a cat, making it hard for others to spot them. They're awesome. Everyone was amazed by the 2 men, who moved past the trees and toward the Dark Lord. As they approached, everyone finally realized who the 2 elderly men were. Master Herman. Sir Leon. Kylus was overjoyed to see them. They're finally here. Ivy and Maria cheered at the new arrivals, who were none other than the leader and assistant leader of the Invincible Guardians, Herman, and Leon Delgado. You're finally here. Hector and the rest of the Harmon family heaved sighs of relief. Now that the leader of the Invincible Guardians was here, the Dark Lord couldn't do too much damage. After all, these 2 men were martial artists who were close to becoming grandmasters. I hope you can forgive us for arriving late, Hector. Herman lowered his head respectfully. Of course. Having you 2 here is already a godsend. Hector smiled. Things had seemed quite bad earlier, but fortunately, there hadn't been much real damage. Let's not waste time. We'll take care of things from here. Herman turned around to face the gazebo. Dark Lord, you've committed grave sins. Bold of you to not surrender yourself now that the 2 of us are here. No wonder you guys weren't afraid. You had the invincible guardians protecting you. The Dark Lord narrowed his eyes. If you're scared, you better kneel and apologize right now. We might spare your life that way. Leon bellowed. Scared. PFFT. Guilds like yours always like to bully people with numbers. How strong can you be? I challenge you to a one-on-one fight. The Dark Lord taunted. Why would I need Herman's help to deal with the likes of you? Leon snorted. You better remember what you just said. The Dark Lord's gaze darkened, a sinister smile on his face. Hold on. Dustin suddenly called out. Sir Leon, you're no match for him on your own. You have to work together if you want to have a winning chance. Nonsense. Leon glared at him. I'm nearly a grandmaster martial artist. I can take care of this fat divine level bastard easily. I'm just giving you a piece of advice. Even animals give it their all when catching prey much weaker than them, so there's no need to risk it, Dustin responded. Shut up. How dare a stupid brat like you tell me what to do? Step aside. Leon was pissed that Dustin would question his capabilities. What? Dustin frowned, and his expression turned cold. If you insist on doing things your way, forget I said anything. He only gave that piece of advice because of the Harmon family, but since Leon refused to listen to him and even insulted him, he might as well just turn a blind eye. Chapter 684. HMPH, Foolish Brat. Kylus glanced at Dustin and sneered. What would a stupid pig like you know about Sir Leon's strength? You could never even hope to reach his level. Dustin, Sir Leon is a semi-grandmaster. You shouldn't talk about things you don't know. Others might laugh at you, Ivy grumbled in displeasure. She's right. You should watch how Leon takes his opponent down. Maria echoed. All of them saw Dustin as someone who liked to talk others down to make himself feel good. The Dark Lord might be a powerful person, but he was still a divine-level martial artist, which was nowhere near the level of a semi-grandmaster. Let's hope things turn out the way you're hoping they will, Dustin simply responded. He's said everything he needed to say. If he said any more, he would just make a fool of himself. Sir Leon, I think he's right. If you're too scared to fight me alone, you can ask your leader to join the battle. Otherwise, you might suffer an embarrassing loss, the Dark Lord taunted, aware that guilds like these cared more about their pride than anything else. As he expected, Leon was furious at his words. Yeah, right. Killing you is a piece of cake. I don't need anyone's help. Here I come. He jumped into the air and unsheathed the long sword behind his back. Clutching the sword with one hand, he thrust it toward the Dark Lord at an incredible speed. His sword is so fast and powerful. No wonder he's a semi-grandmaster. He's so strong. The crowd marveled at his strength. They had never seen someone as strong as Leon. You're doomed. Leon bellowed, and his sword shone as his attack increased in power. Foolish bastard. The Dark Lord chuckled coldly before swinging his hand, which was curled into a claw. This caused Leon's blade, which was less than 20 inches away, to stop midair. The sword trembled violently but didn't move at all. How is that possible? Leon was shocked. Before he had time to react, the Dark Lord reached out and struck Leon's chest with his palm. Immediately, blood spewed from Leon's mouth, and he flew backward. Go to hell. The Dark Lord took advantage of this opportunity and struck again. A huge shadow in the shape of a palm hit Leon hard. Leon. Herman paled. He quickly drew his sword to counter the Dark Lord's attack. There was a loud bang as the two attacks clashed before the shadow palm disappeared. Herman reached out to catch Leon when the Dark Lord suddenly fused with the shadows and slammed into him. You must have a death wish. Furious, Herman brandished his sword. Instantly, thousands of shadow swords appeared. They trapped the Dark Lord from all directions and then flew in the Dark Lord's direction. However, they didn't seem to affect the Dark Lord, who was able to phase through the shadows and counter with another strike. Oh no! Herman's eyes widened, and he instinctively raised his sword to block the oncoming onslaught. The blade shattered on impact, and the Dark Lord quickly followed up with another strike to Herman's chest, crushing the man's bones and causing him to cough up blood. Herman flew in the air before crashing into the ground, head first. Chapter 685. It had only taken the Dark Lord 2 seconds to defeat Herman and Leon. What? Everyone exclaimed, flabbergasted. No one had expected the two semi-grandmasters to lose so terribly to the Dark Lord. Master Herman. Terrified, Kailis, Ivy, and Maria dashed toward their mentor. Herman and Leon were severely injured. They bled profusely from their noses, and they couldn't get back onto their feet. How is this possible? The leader of the Invincible Guardians actually lost. The Harmon family couldn't believe their eyes. The two semi-grandmasters had been their final trump card, and they'd thought they'd have a winning chance against the Dark Lord, yet the latter had eventually won, which begged the question, if the Dark Lord was stronger than Herman and Leon, which Harmon family member would stand a chance against him? If the two of you had come at me together, you could have won against me. Unfortunately, your confidence and pride blinded you. The Dark Lord peered down at them. Aren't you just a fully developed divine-level martial artist? Herman gasped, clutching his chest. How was I going to lure you out if I didn't hide my true strength? The Dark Lord chuckled. Although he had been confident that things would turn out in his favor, he still didn't want to take any risks. You treacherous and shameless bastard. Jacob swore. Nothing matters as long as I can win. The Dark Lord grinned. Also, aren't you curious as to why I finally decided to show myself after all this time hiding? Why? Hector asked, uneasily. I've been biding my time and building my strength, the Dark Lord puffed out his chest. Actually, I've already evolved into a Grandmaster martial artist. His words shocked everyone, causing them to break out in a cold sweat. There were many skilled fighters in the martial world. However, it was rare to find anyone so strong. Countless geniuses spent all their lives trying to break that barrier and evolve. Herman and Leon were the perfect examples. Although they were semi-grandmasters who were halfway to becoming grandmasters, the gap they had yet to fill was so profound that they'd been stuck at the current level for the past decade and still hadn't seen any improvements. Therefore, it wasn't an exaggeration to say that becoming a grandmaster was near impossible. Everyone finally understood why Herman and Leon had lost. Their opponent was a grandmaster. Shit. We're doomed. How are we supposed to fight against such a strong opponent? That's the end of our family. The Harmon family wore devastated expressions. The opponent they were facing was a grandmaster, which meant they had no chance of winning and could only let the Dark Lord do as he pleased. You've lost, Hector. I'll let you guys live if you hand over the treasure. The Dark Lord commanded. He was powerful enough to crush the entire family. Knowing you, you won't let us go even if we hand over the treasure. Hector shook his head. You don't have a choice in this matter. The Dark Lord smiled coldly. It was true that he hadn't been planning to let any of them go since obtaining the treasure map and getting rid of the Harmon family had been his target from the start. Since we'll die no matter what, we might as well die honorably. Hector took a deep breath. He suddenly raised his hand and shouted, all Harmon family members, listen up. Draw your weapons and fight. This kind of events will not be posted on the current date. Chapter 686. Draw your weapons and fight. Hector bellowed, his determined gaze psyching the rest of the family up. Fuck. Let's do this. Charge. The Harmon family yelled and drew their weapons. Their conflict with the Dark Lord had been going on for years, and there was no way he would let them go easily. So, they might as well give it the best shot if they were going to die. You pests dare challenge me. You will all die. The Dark Lord's expression hardened. Hector, since you're being so stubborn, I'll turn this place into a bloodbath today. He slowly pulled his hand back before slapping the ground harshly. Instantly, the ground shook, and snow exploded everywhere. A huge shadow palm fell from the sky and onto the Harmon family members, making it hard for them to breathe or even move. They realized that when their opponent was a grandmaster martial artist, they couldn't even run if they wanted to. Dustin frowned. He was just about to make his move when a pebble shot toward the shadow palm. There was a bang as the dark cloud dispersed. Freed from the attack, the Harmon family began panting. Who the hell did that? The Dark Lord studied the people around him with a sharp glare. He might have only used less than a third of his powers, but it was still more than what regular martial artists could withstand. Why do you insist on killing everybody? Can't you just forgive them? With a sigh, Mr. Robinson emerged from the crowd. Mr. Robinson. Everyone was shocked. They never expected a family servant to stand up for them when things got rough. Alas, it wasn't enough. Everything was useless when faced with a grandmaster. Who are you? How dare you stop me? The Dark Lord glared at the older man. I owe the Harmon family a debt, so I hope you could be generous enough to let them go. Mr. Robinson requested politely. HMPH, who are you to talk to me like that? The Dark Lord shouted. Come on, you come from the same family, so why do you have to fight them like this? You should stop now. Mr. Robinson's tone was grave. And if I don't? The Dark Lord narrowed his eyes, which glinted murderously. I'll have to try and stop you then, Mr. Robinson replied seriously. You stubborn, old thing. The Dark Lord snarled. He launched himself forward and thrust his palm at Mr. Robinson's chest. The devastating force was so strong that it ripped through the air, causing the snow around them to evaporate and the trees around them to explode. Watch out, Mr. Robinson. Dad, duck. People cried out from the crowd. However, Mr. Robinson seemed to have frozen up in fear. Shit, he's a goner. No one can stand the attack of a grandmaster. Everyone shook their heads, sighing silently. Mr. Robinson's courage was commendable, but he was still far too weak to save them. With a loud bang, the Dark Lord's palm landed on Mr. Robinson's chest. Just as everyone thought that Mr. Robinson would be injured and die on the spot, a miracle happened. The small figure withstood the attack perfectly and without moving. Chapter 687. How is that possible? Everyone's jaws dropped. Even Herman hadn't been able to withstand a single strike from the Dark Lord, so how was the feeble old man still standing? Is this really happening? Mr. Robinson blocked the attack with his body. Jacob's eyes were wide. Holy shit. When did he become so powerful? Trent gulped, his face stunned in disbelief. Although Hector didn't say anything, the shock was written all over his face. I didn't know there was someone so strong in the Harmon family. Herman and Leon were secretly in awe. Even if the Dark Lord hadn't used all his might, his attack was still more than what most people could withstand. What? The Dark Lord staggered backward, flabbergasted. He had used 80% of his strength just now, yet Mr. Robinson had blocked his attack like it was nothing. You should stop now. Mr. Robinson shook his head, a clear warning in his eyes. Shut up. I'm going to kill you. The Dark Lord's gaze hardened. He took out a red ball and flung it at Mr. Robinson, which exploded midair. Watch out. That's demon fire. It can burn anything and kill you instantly. Hector paled and cried out a warning. Demon fire was an infamous weapon in the martial world. Anything it touched would immediately turn into ash, and its killing power was incredible. Mr. Robinson was unfazed by the flame. With a gentle puff, a strong gust of wind raked by, putting the fire out instantly. What? Hector was taken aback. How did such a terrifying weapon get put out so quickly? Was this even humanly possible? How is this possible? The Dark Lord paled. Demon fire had been his trump card. It was so powerful that even grandmasters would have a hard time defending themselves, yet Mr. Robinson had blown it out so easily. How terrifying. You've had your turn. Now, it's mine. Mr. Robinson slowly raised his hand and pointed. Bang! The Dark Lord's body slammed backward with tremendous force, blasting through trees, a fake hill, and the gazebo before eventually crashing into the snow somewhere back, unconscious. Holy shit. Everyone was stunned and tongue-tied into silence. The Dark Lord, who was a grandmaster, someone countless martial artists yearned to become, had been defeated by a single attack from Mr. Robinson. That's incredible. Who are you? The Dark Lord staggered to his feet. His hair was tousled, and blood trickled out of his nose and mouth. He looked as though he would collapse at any moment. Michael Robinson, his opponent answered frankly. Michael Robinson. The Dark Lord paled and stammered, "Why, you're Michael Robinson, one of the 5 ultimate grandmasters in Belerno." Chapter 688. Michael Robinson. As soon as everyone heard the name, their jaws dropped in shock. Michael Robinson, one of the 5 ultimate grandmasters in Belerno, was just as renowned as Paul Hill and was a legendary figure with an amazing reputation. 10 years ago, he single-handedly defended Westwood Fortress by himself. He defeated 3 foreign ultimate grandmasters and repelled tens of thousands of enemies from breaking in. With him alone as defense, his opponents hadn't been able to step a single foot in, and this battle had made him famous. In a short year, word of his achievements spread far and wide, making him known as one of the strongest people in Belerno. No one expected the same person, who had gone missing for years, to suddenly appear here as an ordinary family servant. It showed that one should never judge a book by its cover. Mr. Robinson is the Grandmaster Michael Robinson. How is that possible? Hector was dismayed. Michael Robinson was their family's ultimate trump card. His father had once told Hector that a distress signal could only be sent when the entire family was on the brink of destruction. However, never in his dreams did he expect such a legendary figure to be hiding right under his nose, blending in well with everyone else. No wonder Mr. Robinson was so strong. Natasha was astonished. Being able to kill Marlon by pointing at him and defeating the Dark Lord with a single strike was more than enough to prove Michael's identity. How unexpected. With his capability, no wonder he's such a legendary figure. I can't wait to brag about being served by a grandmaster before. The Harmon family was excited after finding out the truth. Their views of Michael turned respectful. No one expected the timid servant, who was full of smiles, to be one of the 5 ultimate grandmasters in Belerno. Dad. Abigail was at a loss for words, her head blank. She still couldn't wrap her head around the fact that her father was such an important figure. It must have taken you a long time to reach such a level. I don't want to kill you, so stop now, Michael stated calmly. No one dared to look down on him after what had just transpired. As a grandmaster myself, I doubt you can kill me. The Dark Lord gritted his teeth in displeasure. You should know that there are strong grandmasters, and there are weak ones. You're still a fresh grandmaster, so it wouldn't be difficult to get rid of you. Michael shook his head. Cut the crap. I'll kill you today. The Dark Lord bellowed, black fog bursting forth from his body. Watch out, sir. He's going to go all out. Herman warned. Almost immediately, the Dark Lord made his move. With a powerful stomp, he shot in the opposite direction like a rocket. He had run away. The 5 ultimate grandmasters in Belerno. Chapter 689. The Dark Lord snuck away giddily, praising himself for his quick thinking that saved him from his death. There was no way he could have won against a monster like Michael. Only an idiot would have challenged that man. After getting over the scare, the Dark Lord thought of something and smiled. So what if my opponent is the legendary Michael Robinson? I still got away. He's just a piece of trash. Suddenly, his grin froze as he sensed danger coming from behind. He instinctively turned around to see a beam of light shooting toward him at lightning speed. Ah! The Dark Lord shrieked in terror. He immediately used all his energy to form a shield. However, the barrier shattered as soon as it touched the light, which pierced his body. He howled in pain as he fell out of the sky and into the bushes. Great job! The crowd cheered. They thought that the Dark Lord would get away once more, but all it took was for Michael to throw his sword like a javelin to take the Dark Lord down. Just as they were basking in the happiness of defeating the Dark Lord, there was a red flash of light as the injured Dark Lord sprung up and dashed away rapidly, disappearing in a flash. A blood shield. Michael was taken aback. Blood shield was a type of rare black magic. It drew energy from the user's life force and allowed the user to have sudden bursts of strength and speed, which was extremely effective for both fighting and running away. However, it came at a cost. Each time a person used this technique, 10 years of their life would drain away. Using a blood shield when injured was even worse, so even if that person didn't die afterward, their fighting skills would drop significantly, and there was no way they could remain a grandmaster anymore. He didn't die. What a pity. Hector sighed. That lucky bastard. Trent gritted his teeth angrily. The Dark Lord has been injured. He won't get far. Men, go after him immediately. Jacob ordered, leading the Harmon family's elite guards. Everyone was aware that if they let the Dark Lord slip away today, the man would retaliate tenfold in the future. Mr. Robinson the First mean, Sir Robinson, thank you so much for helping our family today. Hector lowered his head respectfully. Thank you, Sir Robinson. Natasha and the rest of the family followed suit. Mr. Robinson was no longer the timid old man they all knew. Instead, he was the renowned Grandmaster Michael Robinson. Don't mention it. Mr. Harmon Sr. helped me before, so I'm just repaying the favor, Michael answered kindly as usual. However, his gaze was conflicted as it swept over Abigail. He had tried to keep his daughter safe by hiding his identity. Unfortunately, the truth had still come to light. If he became Michael Robinson once more, things would only become more troublesome. Chapter 690. Amidst the heavy snowfall, a figure in black dashed on frantically, ignoring the fierce winds. Blood trickled out of his wounds and dripped onto the fresh snow beneath him. That piece of shit. He nearly killed me. Thank God I used blood shield, or I'd be dead meat by now. The Dark Lord gritted his teeth, only letting out a sigh of relief when he saw that no one was on this trail, his face still ashen. Michael's final attack had been so strong that it had pierced his protective barrier and even managed to cut through his ametrine armor, leaving a deep gash on his back. If it weren't for that armor, he'd be dead by now. No wonder so many people feared the 5 Grandmasters. Fortunately, he managed to survive, and he even got some shocking information. The Dark Lord wheezed and coughed out blood as he dragged his battered body toward his hiding spot. After 10 minutes, he finally reached a hidden area in the courtyard. Who are you? Several masked women jumped out, firmly clutching swords. It's me. The Dark Lord revealed himself. Master. The women immediately lowered their heads. Where's Azalea? The Dark Lord croaked. She's standing guard in the hall, one of the ladies answered. Keep an eye out for danger, the Dark Lord reminded before heading over to the hall. Meanwhile, Azalea was intently observing a wooden jar. She watched, amused, as a poisonous scorpion and centipede fought furiously. Azalea. Just then, the doors opened, and the Dark Lord tottered into the room. Yes. When Azalea saw the man, she paled and rushed over. Master. What happened? Who did this to you? Michael Robinson was helping the Harmon family, so I lost. The Dark Lord scowled. Michael Robinson, one of Salerno's Grandmasters. Azalea frowned. Didn't he disappear years ago? What's he doing here? He was hiding his identity, so no one knew who he was. Today's just my unlucky day. The Dark Lord sighed. He thought he'd finally be able to destroy the Harmon family after becoming a Grandmaster, yet Michael's sudden appearance nearly cost him his life. He must have the most rotten luck. As long as you're alright, we'll have many more chances to take revenge. Let me treat your injuries. Azalea immediately got to work, swiftly applying medicine and patching the man up. However, his internal injuries would require constant medication before they could heal. I might have lost this time, but at least I've obtained a valuable bargaining chip, the Dark Lord mused.